Hey, y'all need a break. Listen to these stories from r/AskReddit, and share your thoughts in the comments below. What is something you did that you deeply regret doing? Probably rejecting my grandpa when he wanted to play chess. He then fell from a roof like a week later and I never had the chance to play chess with him again. Still bothers me that I kinda never had this moment with him. I have this fear now, while my parents are still alive. And my psychologist says the most sensible thing: we can't spend every moment with the people that love us. We just can't. And they don't expect us to. It wouldn't be healthy. And so we will all have some moments where we have said no. And that's okay. Or else we'd be resentful. I called my buddy one night because I knew he was having a tough time. I told him I'm coming over. He kept saying no, I'm good. He was less than a mile away. I said okay, and then his mom called me in the morning saying he was dead. And what did he say to me in the phone call? I wish I went over. Remember that it's not your fault. And really cement it in your heart. You did what you thought was best. I'm sure he would never hold it against you, even now. When I was 7 or 8 years old, I snapped at my dad for getting me the wrong video game, and I can still see the disappointment in his face. Haunts me to this day. I remember my grandma taking me to the mall as a kid and I was getting super upset I couldn't get this $50 PacSun hoodie. $50 hoodies are common now, but it was very expensive then. I freaked out, even said I'd pay her back. We ended up going back for it. What haunts me most is I didn't even wear it. I really don't know why I acted that way and still feel terrible. Not getting a second opinion sooner on my back injury. Injured my back at work in 2014, was taken to a work cover doctor, where I now know I was misdiagnosed and then gaslighted by the workplace OH&S officer. Had I known that I could seek a second opinion from another doctor while on work cover, it would have been found that I had a permanent disc protrusion that was impacting a major nerve. I waited 7 years to seek a different opinion, all because I believed the work cover doctor and a physio couldn't be wrong, as they were professionals, and that I had just a simple back strain. Meanwhile, I'm walking around in chronic pain with a disc protrusion that could have ruptured at any given moment. I'm now permanently disabled, thanks to my own stupidity. And I can't take legal action against the company now, as there is only a 3-year grace period to do so. I deeply regret letting my creative writing and piano playing skills go to crap. Ever since I entered the corporate world 19 years ago, it has consumed me and I no longer feel passionate about those things. I stopped practicing everything. When I try to make myself do them, it feels like just that, like I am forcing myself, and it is no longer fun. I feel like I've become a shell of my former self in so many ways. Not opening a retirement account when I was 18 like I was told to. That, and not investing my money I made bartending in my 20s. When you're that young, you don't think about things like that, unfortunately. Alternatively, opening an investment account after working a few years in my 20s, and putting everything I had into it in a couple mutual funds. In early 2008. Then panicking and bailing out in 2009 when 60% down, afraid the whole market was collapsing to zero. Then, being afraid to restart investing, that the same might happen again, and so missed a decade plus of opportunity, until I finally overcame that fear and put all my new savings into a new investment account. In late 2021. And, through this last year, it is all again down 60%, just normal stocks, no options or crazy stuff. Basically, like 17 years of work equivalent has disappeared due to the world's crappiest timing to start investing, and I'm no further along now than I was maybe 2 years into working. I try not to dwell on it. Getting married. I spent years paying off her substantial debt. I then dumped another $50K in our forever house only to live in it for a year. Now she's debt-free, and I lost half of everything I paid for. Never again. Being too loyal and putting up with poor treatment from so-called friends to the detriment of my mental health. Not anymore, witches. Cut them all out when I realized they were unable to respond to me in a healthy way and still expected me to be on default fawning mode. Not waking up earlier. Feels like I was somewhat sleepwalking my entire life, not taking anything seriously and being utterly numb. The last few years I've been waking up seeing the folly of my ways. It's painful, but better than being a zombie. Slacking off in high school and not taking college seriously. I could have worked harder, and found a career where I would be financially stable. Yet here I am. I'm honestly stoked that I messed up high school. If I had gone through with college, I would have made dumb decisions and invested huge debt in a career path I wasn't passionate about. I'm in college now at 28, for free from the GI Bill, and it feels like I got an opportunity to just completely change paths with no penalty. I was dead set on going to college even with my lack of motivation, because it's what everybody told me was right. My stepmom asked a video game store employee to tell me what it was like not going to college, and to her surprise he told me it was a great decision and planted a seed in my head. Lol. Letting anxiety and depression ruin so many opportunities for me. Also, becoming a parent. Despite loving my kid, I feel I'm just no good at it, and it's destroyed my sense of who I am as an individual. Not spending Father's Day morning with my dad. I was staying at a friend's house the Friday night before, and Saturday I called to ask if I could stay over again. My dad sounded bummed that I wouldn't be home Sunday morning for Father's Day, but my friend's parents were divorced and she didn't spend a lot of time with her dad, so she was begging me to stay over. He let me, but I wished I wouldn't have. Turned out she was the one spreading terrible rumors about me, became my bully, and to top it off, my dad died when I was 18, so I don't get to spend any Father's Days with him. Wish I would have gone home and spent the time with him instead. My mom died nearly 1 year ago, 7th of February, 2022. She battled ALS for 2 years. It was very sudden and a horrific experience. The last thing she said to me before she lost the ability to speak was, "Stay." She was dying and afraid and just wanted her daughter to stay by her side, but I couldn't do it. I couldn't sit and watch her die. It was excruciating for me. I did visit her every day until her death, but she was no longer there really. She died a week later. I will never forgive myself. Getting married to my first girlfriend at 19. I rushed the relationship because it felt good to not be alone, and I thought that I could help her with her depression and anxiety, was hoping to have a kid with her as well. However, as time went on, she just got worse and worse and kept using her depression as a crutch to justify every crappy thing she did. When I started experiencing depression, I stopped trying to keep things together and we got divorced a few years ago. I still haven't recovered mentally from it, and between that and the pandemic, I feel like a shell of the man I used to be. I deeply regret ghosting someone I really did like. And she liked me. I had some bouts with extreme anxiety last year and just kind of couldn't function. I think I was also not really prepared for meeting her. It was unexpected. I think I wasn't in a great place for that at that time. I don't know if I should reach out to apologize or not. I don't know if she would want to hear from me. I probably will, and I do want to. I want her to know it wasn't because I didn't like her. I really did. I really feel terrible about it. Getting a DUI when I was 21. My best friend committed suicide in my apartment and I didn't know how to cope with the grief, so I turned to alcohol. Not an excuse for my reckless behavior at all, just an explanation. It's been 8 years and I can't stop thinking about how dumb that was. Argued with my mom on our last Christmas together. I was being treated for depression and anxiety. Couldn't deal with the immense pressure and took it on her, the only person who could see I was struggling and understood. Within the next 11 months she'd been diagnosed with pancreatic cancer and died within 6 months. The fallout of her passing has been immense, our whole family fractured, and 3 Christmases on, I'd give anything for the chaos of that year again. Alright, here is a fun one. As a young kid in elementary school, I rode the bus home, and when I sat in my seat as normal I made friends with a girl behind me. And yes, I'm a male. Well anyway, she was black, but I didn't know anything about black people or racism. This was also a time when I thought if you had a name, that name of yours was a name no one else in the world had. Her name was Bianca, and there just so happened to be another girl in my class named Bianca. So with my tiny brain at the time, did the most logical thing I could do. Call her Brown Bianca. We were good friends until she moved away and I got to never see her again. I honestly regret calling her that so many times without actually knowing what I was doing. Bianca, if you see this, I'm so sorry about that. Used my new cordless power drill without reading the instructions. It's a lot more powerful than my old corded drill was. 4th hand surgery coming up soon. Not fighting and advocating more for myself growing up. I struggled with classes, jobs, projects and hobbies. I had a really hard time focusing on anything. I was called stupid, lazy and all sorts of other things by my teachers, friends and coworkers. I knew I wasn't any of those things but just couldn't seem to get things right. Now, a father in my 40s, I started seeing similar issues with my daughter, and when we went to speak to some specialists, it turns out she has ADHD and a generalized anxiety disorder. We got her treatment and a prescription for some medications and she's doing so much better at everything. The similarities in her struggles and mine motivated me to get tested, and sure enough I got diagnosed with ADHD, inattentive type. Started counseling and medication, Adderall, and it's like a switch was thrown. I'm a functional human. Finally. Now I'm just dealing with the emotional trauma of growing up like that, and all the pent-up frustration and anger over a life that might have been, had my parents, or anyone for that matter, made an effort to really find out why I was the way I was. Better late than never, I guess. A few years ago, my husband and I decided to move with our daughter. He was able to retire at a young age from the federal government, and though we'd had our ups and downs in our almost 20 years together, it seemed like we had worked the kinks out of marriage. We were very happy. We moved to another state to buy land in the country and build our dream house, something we had always planned to do and looked forward to. Almost immediately our contractors started scamming us and hiding money. A year into a build that was supposed to take at most 8 months, and it seemed like every day there was a new problem to deal with regarding the build. We were living with family members who quickly grew tired of our presence, and who could blame them? We were supposed to be there 6 months, we were there over 2 years. All of this BS took its toll on our happy marriage and we moved back to our state to try to salvage whatever we could, but we ended up divorced. I have had to start over after being a stay-home mom for 16 years. It's really hard to live on my coffee shop wage. I miss my family and I know my life would have been very different if we had never moved in the first place. I deeply regret picking on this very socially challenged girl when I was younger. I wasn't particularly vicious or anything, but I should have used my popularity to stand up for her, or at least treat her right. And if you wanted something NSFW, then I regret not hitting the woman who pulled down my pants and boxers during a party, in front of my friends. I just stood there frozen, not understanding what was happening, since I thought a woman never would go through with it. Now I'm not shy or anything, but that was extremely uncomfortable, and everyone just thought it was funny even though I very clearly was not into it. Thanks for watching. Is there anything that you regret in your life and willing to share? Drop your story in the comments below, and then like and subscribe for more Reddit videos.